You want to see something cool? Somebody had babies. So some of you probably already know that Stella is a mama, and this is the story of how these babies came to be. We've gotten quite a few questions about why we decided to do MI, how the process has gone, what we did, how we did it. So I just wanted to share a short video of how we got from deciding to keep Stella in here and do maternal incubation and got to the point of now having lots of little babies. We brought Stella home in March of 2023 last year, and the intent was to always keep her in a nice big bioactive like you see behind me. This is a giant toad ranch enclosure. It is 12 feet long, 4 feet tall, 30 inches deep, and we wanted to try maternal incubation. That was always kind of the plan, simply because it fit with how I like to keep my animals, and I wanted to experience that process because I know it's not done a lot in the industry. I'm certainly not the first one to do it. I'm not the only one to be doing it, but I wanted to try it with a reticulated python of Stella's size. She's still small. She's 12 feet, just over 12 feet long, which is small in the retic realm. And also just to see if we could do it. So our first goal was to set up a situation that would actually support maternal incubation. So this is her big bioactive enclosure. If you want to see this whole build, I can connect that YouTube video to this one. We ordered these 2 shelves with the intent of doing maternal incubation with Stella eventually, and obviously it's a nice big size so she could leave her eggs and use a potty if she needed to. I do apologize, it's a little bit of a hot mess from me attempting to leave her be while she's been on her eggs. This little clip, I apologize, I did not plan on doing a YouTube video on this because I'm silly, but it shows Stella utilizing that top shelf to bask and hang out, which is exactly what we intended it for. I did really love that we got this set up a little bit early on so we could see behaviorally where Stella liked to hang out, so we could kind of plan out where we wanted to set up her lay box and ensure that she laid where we wanted her to. I will say Toad Ranch made this super easy, this whole process of setting it up for maternal incubation. It went so smoothly because they kind of designed these shelves custom for me and for Stella. So I do recommend working with a company that would custom fit an enclosure to suit your animal's behaviors and your animal's needs and what you're intending to use it for, and also just having a vision for what you want long term in an enclosure like this, because this is an investment. This enclosure is pretty expensive. It's absolutely worth every single penny, but definitely kind of take that time to observe your animal's behavior, acknowledge what your goal is with that animal, and kind of custom their living space to that. Once Stella was all settled in, it was a matter of adding the male that we wanted to pair her with. This is Aries, our goober boy. Here he's actually displaying a pretty cool male behavior, which is arching. They will arch when they smell a lady that they are interested in. It's kind of silly to watch, but it's actually really cool behavior, and it's a good sign that the male is interested in the female and potentially that the time is right for that pairing. So this clip shows how ridiculous the mating process can be with reticulated pythons. Aries, this is the first time he's bred. You're probably not surprised. Like, look at him just perched on top of Stella's face. And I love both of these animals very much, so I kind of helicopter watched this process to ensure both of them remained safe. He did figure it out eventually, but I was really impressed with how patient Stella is with him crawling all over her and up in her space. She was very receptive. We paired them, I think, at the perfect time because we did wind up getting a lock. I saw 2 visual locks on them, and that was really all it took to ensure that the eggs were fertile. So yeah, I mean, timing is everything. I was lucky because I had all of the timing information on Stella already, so that was helpful. And there he goes on her face. Oh, just absolutely silly snake mating behavior. The first couple months after that pairing was accomplished, I actually wasn't quite sure if Stella was gravid or not because she was acting exactly the same. Her behaviors hadn't changed. She was being active in her enclosure, interactive with me. So towards the beginning of February, I had just kind of been like, well, maybe it didn't actually work. Something of note for animals that are in bigger enclosures and have the chance to kind of climb around, or just animals that are let out of their enclosures for additional exercise, I found that Stella gained a lot of muscle tone in that time. So I had a more difficult time palpating to feel if she was gravid or not. Now I am not an expert at palpating snakes and checking for eggs, but I really wasn't sure if I was feeling anything, and based on her behavior, I was just kind of like, well, I guess we'll see. Even though I was a little doubtful as to whether or not the mating had been successful, we still went ahead and created a nest box for her to facilitate her laying eggs in maternal incubation, just in case she did. So my husband created this for us. So this beautiful situation is Stella's lay box. It's a short piece of PVC that created a little box situation. Underneath is a base of PVC, and we attached it with just a couple of screws to make sure it was secure onto this top-toed ranch shelf. We placed her underneath the RHP, and we placed her favorite hide on top of it. Again, this was really helpful to know her behaviors. She loves this hide. If I take it out, she legit looks for it. So I placed this on top of this nest situation in the hopes that if she was gravid, she would lay where we wanted and needed her to lay to facilitate maternal incubation. My husband is what I call my blue fairy, because I literally say, hey, I need this thing, and he just makes it happen. Either he, supports me in achieving it, or like builds it himself. So that's where this PVC nest box came from. It turned out perfectly. So to my husband, Jody, thank you so much for being my blue fairy. The way that I set the lay box up is actually really, really simple. I added a bunch of spag, mixed in a little bit of charcoal, and added springtails to help mitigate mold that might develop. And because we have this hide on top of this lay box, and she laid in this hide, it made maintaining the humidity and temperatures for her for, close to 3 months very, very easy. And sure enough, on February 19th, which was much later than we were anticipating, Stella graced us with a gorgeous clutch of eggs. Look at that beautiful, beautiful mama, all curled up around her eggs. This was literally moments after she had finished laying. Once we had eggs, it was a matter of me following through on my intent of not micromanaging her process of maternal incubation. So I tossed in, we have Govee wireless hygrometers and thermometers. So I tossed one of those into the hide with her and just used that to help let me know if she needed additional humidity or what the temperatures were doing. And it just helped me be a little bit more hands-off. I did wind up remoistening this fag, I think 3 times total, the entire incubation period. Again, that hide on top was wonderful because it maintained that humidity for so long, and then the springtails mixed in with the charcoal helped kind of manage any mold really, really well. So yeah, highly recommend that setup if you want to do maternal incubation. So we kind of documented, hello Zizi plant, we documented pretty regularly her process. I was at one point able to sneak our little Govee actually into her clutch to grab some data on like the temps and humidity that she was keeping it at. She did let the temperatures fluctuate here and there, but she kept the humidity close to 100%, nope, at 100% the entire time. So I honestly don't even know if moistening this fag was necessary. Mamas do really, really well at managing the temperature and the humidity based on what the eggs need. So yeah, super high humidity, the temperature would fluctuate. It would get as high as 88 and as low as like 85.6 or 7. So it fluctuated pretty significantly, I think. But yeah, it was really fascinating to see what mom was providing for the babies. If anyone is interested in actually getting the numbers that we gathered from the time that I had the Goby and the eggs, I took it out after about a week or two of it being in there because it was so humid. I didn't want any corrosion to happen and like battery gunk to get on the eggs, because that would have been bad. But we do have, I think, a good solid 2 weeks of data. So if you're interested in seeing those numbers, please just let me know. I'm happy to share it with whoever is interested. I want to touch on behaviors really quick. So behaviors that I observed from Stella throughout this maternal incubation process. The first thing I noticed was she didn't really go off food. I don't think that really has anything to do with the maternal incubation. Obviously it was before she laid her eggs, but that's one of the reasons I didn't think she was gravid. She was accepting food up until about like 2 or 3 weeks until she laid her eggs. So she kind of threw us for a loop with that one. Some things that I noticed while she was actually on the eggs. The first 2 to 3 weeks, she was a little bit more on edge, seemed to be kind of settling into being on her eggs. She would buck a little bit more. She never struck. She actually has yet to strike throughout this entire process. She is a very tractable, sweet snake, and she just maintained that nature throughout the entirety of her maternal incubation. Once she settled in, she still wouldn't leave the nest, but she did start accepting water whenever I would bring it to her. And it was just such a cool experience to realize that this snake, who is supposed to have all of these instinctual reactions to someone being in their space, especially when they're on eggs, was willing to show curiosity and trust in someone offering them what they needed, which was water. I mean, look at her. Look how chill and just curious she is about her surroundings, even being on eggs. How cool is that? A couple other things of note include her going through 2 different shed cycles throughout the maternal incubation process. The first shed cycle happened about 2 months into the incubation, and she refused to leave her nest to actually get the shed completely off. She shed her face and her eye caps and all of that kind of essential stuff while on her eggs. And then it took an additional, I think, around 2 weeks before she finally was willing to leave the eggs, finish shedding, and actually went to the bathroom for the first time at that point. But she went, over 2 months without going to the bathroom, and just like curled up, very diligent on her eggs. I thought that was pretty cool. Ultimately, our goal was to be as hands-off of this process as possible and just let nature do its thing. Now, obviously, we didn't adhere to that entirely. Like, obviously, nature is not going to hand deliver you water, or re-up, moisture on your nice cozy sphagnum nest. But we did try and just leave the eggs and Stella to do their thing. So, it caused my blood pressure to probably rise a little bit throughout that process, but we did succeed in being hands-off. I did notice her behavior shift a little bit as we got very close to the eggs being due to Pip. All right, day 81. This is kind of how she's been laying on her clutch since she got back on them yesterday. I don't know if that's a good sign or a bad sign. As you could see from that clip, all of the eggs obviously were not perfect. They looked a little rough around the edges, or a lot rough around the edges. There was some residual shed from Stella kind of adhered to the eggs. That's that brown coloration you're seeing. And we did get a little bit of mold on, from what I could tell, one egg. The other kind of wonky thing about doing maternal incubation in this way is we weren't able to get an egg count. So it's very, very much about letting go of kind of knowing essential things that if you do artificial incubation and pull the eggs, you would have data information on. So it was a little nerve-wracking. All right, you guys, it's day 82. And I have happy tears. Do you see that? Do you see that little face poking out? We have more Pips. There's Pips there. There's Pips there. Oh my gosh, good job, sweetie. Stella has babies, you guys. Not sure how many yet, but oh my gosh. I'm so excited. Good job. I'm so proud of you. day 82. That was the magic date. Pretty much on brand for how long these eggs, reticulated python eggs, tend to take to pip in an artificial incubator. I was honestly surprised that they pipped as early as they did, because she was keeping them, like, fluctuating that temperature a little bit lower. So really fascinating process to experience. It's not for everyone, and I totally understand that. We have thoroughly enjoyed it, especially now knowing that we have babies. It's day 85 today. Stella is still hanging out with them. They're not completely out of the egg yet. We're letting everything happen on its own time and on its own. So all of the babies are pipping by themselves. We're letting them come out of the egg by themselves. And it's been really cool to just see Stella's behavior through all of this, because I feel like there's not a whole lot of data on reticulated python moms and like their behaviors in relation to the clutch at certain points throughout the process. So it's really cool. It's really fascinating. If you're ever down to try it, we've had a lot of fun with it. And yeah, it's just cool. Nature is amazing. This was our first clutch. I will say I'm hoping to make maternal incubation kind of our norm for any future clutches that we have here. I just think it's a cool, fun way that works for us as far as incubating the eggs. We will continue to refine the process and make little tweaks and changes. You know, this clutch wasn't perfect, but yeah, it's been really cool and really fun. We had a lot of support throughout this entire process. So thank you so much to everyone who offered us insight and feedback and just support in general. We are over the moon excited and so proud of Stella. She did such an amazing job. She was paired to Aries. I'll put all of like the morph information and stuff in the comment below. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed. It's been a really fun process. We will obviously have much more baby content as they fully emerge out of the egg and we start putting them into their little nursery penthouses. So lots more information coming about all of that stuff. So thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe really helps us out a ton. And I'll catch you on the next one. All right, there's a nose. And there's a face, and there's a face, and there's a face, and there's a face. So many little faces peeking out. They're so cute. Mama, good girl, Stella. Are you excited?
Me?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know if the camera was facing you or facing me.
Facing you.
Yes, I'm excited.